Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that's, well, pretty essential for all of us, especially as young professionals.
Financial planning.
You got it. And to guide us on this journey, we're taking inspiration from a great episode from Margin World called,
Effective financial planning for young professionals.
That's the One. Now, they use this clever analogy of a road trip, and I kind of love it. It
Yep.
really brings home the point that you wouldn't just hop on the car and start driving without...
A destination in mind, right? And a plan for how to get there.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of us, especially when we're starting out, can get a little lost with our finances. We know we need to be responsible, but...
But where do we even begin?
Exactly. And the Margin World episode does a fantastic job of breaking it down into manageable steps, starting with...
Knowing your starting point.
Okay, so what does that mean? Exactly.
Well, it all begins with understanding your income. And I don't just mean your salary from your 9 to 5.
Right, because so many of us have side hustles, freelance gigs, maybe some investments.
Exactly. It's about taking stock of all your income streams, because that gives you a much clearer picture
Of your overall financial landscape.
Precisely. And what's fascinating is that they highlight the potential many of us miss. Knowing your total income is great, but it's also about analyzing where it comes from. That can spark ideas for negotiating a raise, finding a better paying side gig.
Or even turning a hobby into a moneymaker.
You got it. It's not just about what you're making now, it's about the possibilities for growth.
I love that proactive approach.
Sure.
Okay, so let's say we've mapped out our income streams. Where does budgeting fit into this financial road trip?
Budgeting. Think of it as your trusty GPS.
Okay, I'm listening.
Now, I know some folks see budgeting as this restrictive, boring thing.
I've definitely been there.
Right. But Margin World flips that script. They argue it's about empowerment.
Empowered, I know.
Yeah. It's you being in the driver's seat, deciding where your money goes instead of
It just disappearing.
vanishing into thin air. Yeah.
And I think that's such a powerful shift in perspective. It's not about deprivation. It's about...
Consciously choosing where you want your money to go, what you want it to do for you.
It's about making your money work for you, not the other way around.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we actually put this into practice?
Well, they introduced this budgeting rule as a starting point. You've probably heard of it, the 50-30-20 rule.
50, 30, 20.
Yep. 50% of your income goes to your needs.
Like rent, groceries, bills.
Essentials, right.
Yeah.
Then 30% goes to your wants.
The fun stuff.
Exactly. Eating out, travel, entertainment, those things that bring you joy.
But aren't absolutely necessary for survival.
Right. And then that last 20%, that's for savings and debt repayment.
Ah, the responsible part. Now, this rule sounds pretty straightforward.
It is. But, and this is important, the episode makes it clear that this is just a starting point. It's not one size fits all.
So someone with a lot of student loan debt, for example, might need to adjust those percentages.
Exactly. It's about understanding the principle and adapting it to your own unique situation and goals.
It's more like a guideline than a hard and fast rule.
Exactly. It's about finding what works best for you and helps you achieve
Your own version of financial freedom.
Exactly. It's your journey, your roadmap.
I love that. Okay, so we've got our income mapped out, our budgeting GPS set, time to hit the gas on saving, right? And Margin World really dives deep into this concept of
Compound interest.
the magic of compound interest.
And they do it in a way that really drives home the point. They use this example of saving $200 a month.
Okay, $200.
Yeah, starting at age 25 versus starting at age 35.
And assuming a consistent rate of return, let's say 7%.
The difference in what you end up with is insane. It's like mind-blowing.
So it really highlights why time is your biggest ally in this whole financial journey.
It's like getting an early bird discount on your financial future.
I love that. But for those of us just starting out, even $200 a month can feel like, yeah, a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
What advice do they offer for making that initial push?
They emphasize that even small amounts make a difference, like even $50 or $100 a month.
Consistency is key.
Exactly. Starting small and gradually increasing your savings rate as your income grows.
It's like packing light for your road trip.
You don't need to bring everything at once.
You just need the essentials to get started.
And you can always add more along the way as you need it.
That's a great analogy. And speaking of packing for the unexpected, Margin World makes a pit stop for building an emergency fund.
Which, let's face it, isn't the most glamorous part of the trip.
But it's absolutely essential.
Imagine hitting a detour, a flat tire, a sudden engine problem.
Or in life, a job loss, unexpected medical bills.
Your emergency fund is like having roadside assistance. It makes sure those unexpected bumps don't derail your entire journey.
So how much should we aim to have in this emergency fund?
They recommend 3 to 6 months of living expenses.
Wow, that's...
It sounds like a lot, I know, but it provides such peace of mind knowing you have a cushion to fall back on.
And where should we keep this emergency fund? Just a regular savings account?
They recommend a high-yield savings account. That way, it's accessible if you need it, but still earning a little interest.
So it's not just sitting there stagnant.
Exactly. It's working for you even while it's waiting to be used.
Smart. Okay, so we've got our savings engine humming, our emergency kit packed. But there's this massive roadblock that so many of us, especially young professionals, face: debt.
And they don't shy away from this at all. The episode acknowledges that debt, particularly student loans and credit card debt, can feel like
This weight dragging you down.
Exactly. But their approach is about taking control and creating a strategic plan to navigate this tricky terrain.
So it's not about feeling overwhelmed by debt. It's about...
Understanding it and then making a plan to tackle it,
They really emphasize understanding your loan terms
especially those interest rates.
and tackling high-interest debt first.
It's like figuring out which roads have the highest tolls and finding alternative routes, right?
So you can avoid those unnecessary expenses. They also suggest exploring options like debt consolidation and refinancing,
Finding the most efficient way to manage and ultimately eliminate that debt.
freeing up more resources to invest in your future goals.
Exactly. And they stress that knowledge is power when it comes to debt. The more you understand your loans, the better equipped you are to create a repayment strategy that works for you.
So it's all about taking control, making informed decisions.
And ultimately paving the way for a brighter financial future.
Speaking of investing, I feel like that's where a lot of us get intimidated. It can feel like this whole other world with its own language and rules.
It can be a little daunting, for sure.
So how does Margin World approach this part of the financial journey?
They do a great job of demystifying investing. They encourage starting with accessible options like employer-sponsored retirement plans.
Like a 401k, for example.
Exactly, particularly those with employer matching. That's essentially free money.
And who doesn't love free money, right?
Right. They also highlight low-cost index funds and ETFs as fantastic starting points for beginners.
Offering diversification and low fees.
Now, you might be thinking, what exactly are index funds and ETFs?
Yeah, break it down for us.
Okay, so imagine an index fund like the S&P 500. It lets you own a tiny piece of the 500 biggest companies in the U.S.
So you're spreading your risk across a wide range of companies.
Exactly, and potentially earning solid returns over time.
It's like choosing a scenic route that covers a wide range of landscapes, ensuring you experience the beauty of the entire journey, not just one specific spot.
I like that analogy. It's about the big picture, the long game.
But how do we figure out which investments are right for us? I mean, it's not one size fits all, right?
Absolutely not. And that's where aligning your investments with your goals comes in.
Okay, tell us more about that.
This is where understanding your risk tolerance, how comfortable you are with potential ups and downs in the market, and your time horizon, how long you have to invest, become crucial factors.
So it's like planning your road trip. You wouldn't take a sports car on a bumpy off-road trail, right?
Exactly.
So a high-yield savings account is our reliable sedan, perfect for our emergency fund. But for those long-term goals, we might need...
A more powerful engine.
Exactly.
For a down payment on a house in a few years, you might stick with that sedan. Lower risk, stable returns.
But for retirement, decades down the road,
You might consider an SUV. It can handle a bit more risk for the potential of higher returns over the long haul. It's about matching your investment vehicle to the terrain and length of your financial journey.
okay, that's a great way to think about it. But before we continue on our investment road trip, I think it's time for a quick pit stop. We'll be right back with more of The Deep Dive. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Before the break, we were gearing up for that investment road trip, talking about aligning our choices with our goals and risk tolerance.
And just like any savvy traveler would be, the Margin World episode reminds us to consider insurance. It's not always the most exciting topic, I know,
It's not the most glamorous part of the journey.
but it's crucial for protecting ourselves and our finances along the way.
It's like having travel insurance, right?
Exactly.
You hope you won't need it, but if something unexpected happens...
You're incredibly grateful you have it.
Exactly. So what types of insurance do they recommend specifically?
They emphasize health insurance, especially for those of us early in our careers. Unexpected medical bills can really throw a wrench in your plans.
Set you back.
Big time. So
Right.
having that safety net is essential.
Definitely. And they also talk about life insurance, particularly for those with families.
Making sure your loved ones are financially secure, even if the unthinkable happens.
It's about peace of mind, really.
Absolutely. And something many young professionals overlook is disability insurance.
Disability insurance.
Yeah. If you're unable to work due to an illness or injury,
Oh, I see.
this type of coverage can provide income, helping you stay on track financially even when life throws a curveball.
It's like that spare tire in your trunk. You might not need it often.
But when you do, it's a lifesaver.
Okay, so we've got our insurance sorted, but this next topic can feel like navigating a maze. Taxes. Taxes. I know, right?
Yeah.
But Margin World frames it in a really empowering way. They view understanding taxes as a way to potentially save thousands of dollars.
Thousands, really?
It's like finding those hidden shortcuts on your road trip that save you time and money.
I like the sound of that.
So they encourage utilizing tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks and IRAs, which we touched on earlier. But what other tax tips do they offer?
They really emphasize the importance of tracking deductible expenses, especially for freelancers and side hustlers.
Deductible expenses.
Yeah, things like home office expenses, business travel, even professional development courses.
All of that can potentially reduce your tax burden?
Exactly. It's about knowing the rules of the game and using them to your advantage.
That's a game changer. I'm definitely going to be more diligent about tracking my expenses from now on. They also mentioned considering a tax professional or software. Do you think that's worth it for most people?
It really depends on your situation. For those with straightforward finances, tax software might be sufficient,
But if you have a more complex financial picture,
especially if you're self-employed or have multiple income streams. A tax professional can be invaluable.
it's like having a seasoned navigator who knows all the best routes and can help you avoid those costly detours. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground on our financial road trip.
We have, from mapping out our income to navigating those tricky areas like debt and taxes.
We've packed our emergency kit, secured our insurance, and even started thinking about which investment vehicles will get us to our long-term destinations. But what really struck me about this Margin World episode,
What's that?
it's that it goes beyond just the nuts and bolts of personal finance. They emphasize the importance of mindset and approach.
It's not just about following a set of rules.
It's about understanding the principles and adapting them to your own unique journey.
And they encourage us to view financial planning as an ongoing process, not a one-time event. It's about continually learning, adjusting our course as needed.
And celebrating those milestones along the way.
Exactly. They even suggest finding ways to enjoy the journey itself. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about
Making intentional choices.
that align with both your present and future aspirations.
Think of it like planning your route to include those scenic overlooks and interesting stops along the way. You can still savor those delicious meals, take those spontaneous weekend getaways.
As long as you're mindful of your overall budget and long-term goals.
It's a reminder that financial freedom isn't just about reaching a specific destination. It's about having the flexibility and choices to create a life you love.
Well said.
So as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways that have resonated with you?
For me, it's the reminder that financial planning is a journey, not a destination. It's about making conscious choices, learning and adapting along the way, and finding that balance between enjoying the present and securing your future.
And don't forget those essential tools. Your budgeting GPS, your emergency roadside assistance kit.
And your knowledge of the financial terrain.
Yeah.
And remember, even if you encounter a few detours or roadblocks along the way,
Which you inevitably will.
don't get discouraged. Every experience is a learning opportunity. And with the right mindset and a solid plan, you can navigate any challenge and reach your financial destination.
Well said. We'll be back for the final leg of our deep dive after a quick break. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered so much ground on our financial road trip.
From mapping out our income to navigating those tricky detours like debt and taxes.
We've packed our emergency kit, secured our insurance, and even started thinking about those investment vehicles, the ones that'll get us to our long-term destinations.
But what really struck me about this Margin World episode,
What's that?
it goes beyond just like the nuts and bolts of personal finance.
Right.
They emphasize like the importance of mindset and approach.
It's not just about following a set of rules, right?
Mhm.
It's about understanding the principles and adapting them to your own unique journey.
And I think that's so important because everyone's financial situation is different.
Totally. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
And they encourage us to view financial planning as this ongoing process, not a one-time event.
So it's not like setting it and forgetting it.
Exactly. It's about continually learning, adjusting our course as needed.
And celebrating those milestones along the way.
Celebrating is key.
Got to enjoy the journey. Yeah.
Exactly. And they even suggest finding ways to really enjoy the journey itself.
It's not about depriving yourself. It's about
It's about making intentional choices that align with both your present and future aspirations.
so you can still enjoy those dinners out, those weekend getaways.
Absolutely. As long as you're mindful of your overall budget and those long-term goals.
It's a great reminder that financial freedom isn't just about reaching that specific destination.
It's about having the flexibility and the choices to create a life you love.
So true. As we wrap up our deep dive into this topic, I'm curious, what's resonating most with you? Is there a specific piece of advice or like a concept that you're particularly excited to implement?
Ooh, that's a good question. For me, it's the emphasis on starting early and harnessing the power of compound interest.
It's like getting a head start on your journey.
Yeah, exactly. And letting time work its magic. Even small amounts invested consistently can grow exponentially over time.
It's amazing what a difference those early years can make.
It really is. Paving the way for a more secure and fulfilling financial future.
And I love how they reframed budgeting as a tool for empowerment, not restriction.
Yes. It's about taking control of your finances,
Making conscious choices that align with your values and goals.
being the driver of your own financial journey, choosing the routes that lead to the destinations you desire.
Love that analogy. And before we wrap up completely, any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are embarking on their own financial journeys?
Don't forget the importance of seeking guidance and support along the way, whether it's from a financial advisor, a trusted mentor, or even a friend who's further along in their financial journey.
Having a network of people to lean on can be so valuable.
It's like having a crew of experienced travelers who can share their insights, offer encouragement, and celebrate those milestones with you.
Remember, you don't have to navigate this road alone.
So, as we reach the end of our financial road trip together, I want to leave you with one final thought. What one step from today's deep dive will you take action on this week to start building the financial future you envision?
That's a powerful question. Maybe it's revisiting your budget, researching some investment options, or simply committing to learning more about a specific financial topic.
Remember, even small steps taken consistently can lead to significant progress over time.
The key is to just get started.
And that's the beauty of this journey. It's yours to create. And every step you take brings you closer to the financial freedom you desire.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and inspiration to embark on your own financial journey with confidence and excitement.
Until next time, happy travels.